Okay, folks, NXT In Your House Takeover 2021. Wow, the years just fly by. So, this is going to be a pro wrestling analysis for those of you that enjoy other things in Mike Messier. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Now's your time to find something else, perhaps the Suicide Girls Burlesque or Mike's original films or Messier Mantra. Let's get to this card. This was a suggested analysis. A friend, a subscriber said, Mike, please watch this NXT show. We know that you're not a huge NXT guy, but watch the show and let us know what you think. So overall, first off, we'll start with the concept of this retro In Your House. I guess they did this last year. I couldn't really remember, to be honest with you, but I thought it was pretty cool, to be honest. Cool in a good way, not in a sarcastic way. I've been informed that the kids these days often use cool in a sarcastic way. I'm still old school. If something's cool, it means it's good. But I thought it was good to give Todd Pettengill a little work, give him a paycheck, give him a payday. To be honest, he's a lot smoother and just quicker on his feet and just likable. And he's distinct. He has a distinct personality. I would dare say compare him to Michael Cole, compare him to anybody. Now, the difference is Michael Cole did do play-by-play. Todd Pettengill was never known for play-by-play. He's more of a hype man. Who's that guy? Don West in TNA for years was kind of a hype man. So, granted, the hype man spot that this gentleman, Todd Pettengill, fills is not a play-by-play guy. But still, as far as your usual broadcast team, isn't he more engaging and fun than pretty much anyone on the WWE regular roster of announcers and so forth? And I mean, how many attractive women can you hire to put in nice dresses that just kind of look? They do the interview and then they just look off into the distance when the interview subject leaves. So anyway, that's a different matter. But as far as Michael Cole, God damn it, as far as Todd Pettengill goes, he pretty much looks the same, a little bit older, like we all are, and that goatee, very 1994, but the goatee's looking good. And we get to our matches here. Of course, someone's going to have their fucking radio on, annoying me, but we'll get to the matches. The set of the actual house is kind of nice. Now, typically, I'm not someone who marks out or goes gaga over different sets or how does the show look. I'm not that type of fan that whacks off about fucking production values, but I did kind of think that the set was nice and the door, and it allows itself, like, your imagination's like, who's going to go through this set, blah, blah, blah. The first match, they kept making these comparisons, and it's a little bit of a dangerous game to make comparisons to matches from the past, but they kept comparing it to In Your House 3 when Shawn Michaels and Diesel defeated kind of three people, Yokozuna, Owen Hart, and Davey Boy Smith, which is kind of a weird match. Well, not a weird, it was a winners take all match way back when. So for whatever reason, they kept harping on this. Maybe because Shawn Michaels is involved in NXT. I think he's Triple H's right-hand man and so forth. And so just had a funny situation. I saw an attractive woman coming out of a store, and then within a split second, she was reaching her hand out for a child, assuming it's her own child. So her, her attractiveness went in the toilet pretty quick. So anyway, they're doing this with this North American Championship. Now, I guess you're going to get some rants from me and some old wrestling fan yells at the clouds, but the fact that they have to have a North American Championship in NXT, I mean, come on. It's like, isn't the NXT isn't that the NXT title supposed to be the AAA ball title? I mean, I think NXT still has to decide, or maybe they don't, or maybe they've changed their mind. Is NXT a training ground, a training camp for new main roster talents, or is it a third brand onto its own? If it's a third brand onto its own, well, it didn't do very well in the Wednesday Night Wars that it lost, right? But what is it? And I just think that depending on who you ask, and depending on what fan you ask, and depending on if you ask Vince McMahon or Triple H, he'll give you a different answer. So NXT to me, and this is not, and I think even an NXT fan would agree, this is not the highlight years for NXT. That was 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, this is kind of the afterbirth. You know what I mean? Like, the days of Ciampa and Gargano are long gone, and these are just, it is what it is. But Bronson Reed and MSK. Now, I was curious, I guess, like every other asshole, what does MSK stand for? There is no clear answer. Some folks on Reddit were suggesting it's, people are walking by me. Some people on Reddit were suggesting it's motherfucking stoner kids. And another person said, yeah, but it's PG, so it's must-see kids. Either way, it's just a lame name for a tag team, to be honest with you. Like, I can see that MSK, wasn't there a gang? Like some street gang, 5 or 10 years ago that was running rampant in Los Angeles that had like some type of initials like that. So I was trying to get to the bottom of this, but it's like, to me, just having shit that has like, what does NXT stand for? Does it stand for next? Like, we got next? And they never give an explanation, and then it just becomes a thing. And it's kind of like Jeff or Eric Bischoff complaining about the X division in TNA when he said, what does the X stand for? Well, it just stands for the X. Is it a cruiserweight division? They had no answer. So it's kind of like that for me. When you just say that this is MSK, there was a big fat guy running around with no shirt on. Okay, a lot of disgusting sights today. I mean, look, I'm not running. I wear a shirt. I mean, and this guy, he's trying to jog, which is fine, but it's like, he kind of had the physique of a Bronson Reed, who's in this first match. And I don't know. To me, it's like, however Bronson Reed, however well he does, will he ever be any better than Keith Lee in the main roster? Once Vince gets a hold of these guys, he doesn't like what these guys, like Vince does not like the big fat guy who can fly. You know what I mean? We've learned that with Keith Lee. So Bronson Reed ought to do his best to stick around NXT and not get called up to the main roster as long as Vince is still around, because they're not going to use him right. But they had this match. Going back to the pre-show, I watched some of the press conference thing, and it was really hard to get through because everybody sounded alike. And I guess for younger fans, you might be wondering, well, what does that mean when you say everybody sounded alike? You can just tell that these wrestlers have memorized a script because all the scripts sound alike, and they just do. And it's you would have to take the effort, which most younger wrestling fans won't, to go find a Don Morocco and a Roddy Piper interview and an Ole Anderson promo and Dusty Rhodes. Like, you'd actually have to do the research. But trust me, these promos sound very written out, very scripted, and they're written by the same people with the let's please Vince, because every wrestler is hitting the bullet points of these promos, and they're terribly boring. And I couldn't punish myself to get through that NXT press conference. So if somebody went through a table or if someone did something, I guess I missed it. Anyway, these people, Bronson Reed and MSK, defeated Legado del Fantasma. I just was having flashbacks to all the people that got fired, like Andrade and the chick, Selena Vega, and all those other folks that were on Raw that were actually getting some momentum, even though the ratings were not great at that time. It wasn't that long ago. It was like 6 months ago. And I just had to think, no offense, but is Legado del Fantasma much different than that troupe? I guess they don't have the girl. But I mean, they even had the thing where there's the leader guy, but then there's like the guy who's the non-leader who seems to be better, which is what Selena's group had too. Okay, so this was just a match for all the titles, and MSK and Bronson Reed retained, so fine. What did I think of the match? The match started off very cutesy, like two of those guys on each team were basically doing a choreographed routine. And you've been seeing this for 20 years, going back to like Ring of Honor or going back to whatever, just, kip-ups and, like I'm going to do this and you're going to do that, and then we're going to look at each other. And then the fans are going to clap because we did men's gymnastics for 2 minutes. I'm not crucifying it, but it's just we've seen it a lot. And I guess a collar and elbow tie-up would be too passe for these fucks. The next match, okay, this got a little bit interesting. I don't know if interesting in a good way. I'm going to slaughter these names. I apologize in advance. It's not me trying to be disrespectful. I can't say the names. Xia Li defeated Mercedes Martinez via pinfall. It was supposed to be some revenge match from 4 years earlier with the Mae Young Classic. Might I say this? If these two have been, in NXT or in and out of NXT for 4 years and have not been advanced, what's the chance of advancement? And, Triple H kind of said this on his little radio thing last Friday or whatever. Why do the fans need advancement? Why can't they just be happy when their wrestlers are there? Okay, fine, but they always make things, they being WWE, they make these parameters and then bitch when the fans try to follow the parameters. Well, you told us that NXT was a training ground, a training camp for bigger and better things for these wrestlers, and now we're not supposed to give a shit if they get advanced. Right? So they just change the fucking rules as they go along. But anyway, she was so humiliated that she submitted in a match. Okay, so now submissions matter after 20 years of submissions not mattering. I don't know. The match was okay. There was a moment early on, you can catch it, when they kind of tumble out of the ring to begin the match, which I thought was interesting. And then Xia Li grabs the head of Martinez to throw her back in the ring. And she kind of loses her grip on Martinez's head very quickly. And Martinez just sells it as if she's still getting thrown by the head. So just wrestle humor, a wrestle botch or whatever material. The match was okay, but can I be hardcore honest? I think Mercedes Martinez might have been better off if she had been signed 5 or 10 years earlier. It seems like they signed her at this point to say, hey, even if you're a veteran, even if you're older, and you're not, Tori Wilson or Stacy Keibler in a thong bikini, we still have an interest in you, blah, blah, blah. The reality is Mercedes Martinez, it seems like her best years have come and gone, and not that she doesn't have the skills, and in this match, every once in a while, she'd break out some big, awesome move, but it did seem like she was a little slow in the step. I mean, if you watch the match, like I did, you can see that Mercedes is just, she's a little slow. And I'm not trying to pick on her, but I'm just saying 5 or 10 years earlier, or 15, she might have been great. But now, she just seems like she has a little slowness in her movement. And once again, she's a better wrestler than I am, but I mean, I'm not a wrestler. So there you fucking have it, assholes. Next match, ladder match, LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes. I did like this tie-in to the past, going back to 1987, I guess the $1 million belt really didn't become a thing, I think, until 1989. But they're showing old footage of DiBiase. They kind of omitted Virgil having the $1 million title and Steve Austin. I think it might have been nice if in these vignettes they had recognized. I think they mostly just concentrated on DiBiase. They didn't really talk about the other, supposed $1 million champions of Virgil and Steve Austin, fucking ringmaster, remember him? And Ted DiBiase Jr. They really just glossed over them. I think it would have been a little bit nice if they had recognized them. Maybe even have Steve Austin cut a promo about it. And he can even say, he could put some shine on their shit. Say, hey, although... I would go, although I'd really become Austin 316 when I had that $1 million belt, it meant a whole lot coming from Ted DiBiase. That's all he had to say, but I guess Steve Austin couldn't be bothered. He was on his double cross ranch or whatever the fuck, or his double beer ranch or his 316 ranch, whatever the fuck. But anyway, this, I think probably a lot of people, and I would probably agree, was probably the match of the night. I was kind of thinking it might be cool if the Cameron Grimes guy won, just because he was the baby face, and the idea being if he won, you could do some comedy segments for a couple of months. You can milk it where him and DiBiase don't get along, And eventually DiBiase like signs a contract for Grimes to defend it against LA Knight, and then LA Knight wins, and then you're off to the races, just to prolong this thing. Johnny Z there on Twitter, my buddy in New York, Johnny Z, who's a big NXT enthusiast, along with Kevin Castle, they're really big carrying cross guys, but Johnny was saying that no, and then LA Knight had to win this thing, otherwise he'd be buried, dummy. And I don't even know if he does that dummy thing anymore, but okay, so LA Knight won the match, and they had a big pratfall at the end, and maybe the funnest thing in this match for me was at the end, LA Knight kind of jumping around the ring like he won the Super Bowl. I thought that was kind of fun. So I think LA Knight's good. I mean, I'm trying to remember his old name from TNA days, and he actually has some integrity. I think he left Impact Wrestling because he did not want to do a job to Tessa Blanchard. So I respect him, that he's at least with one wrestler in the world. He's got a fucking penis in his pants, so to speak. The next match, I did like the vignette. That was probably my favorite thing. The vignette of, like, you know, these two fucks wrestling for this thing. Raquel Gonzalez defeats Ember Moon to retain the women's title. On a personal note, or just on a friendly note, it's nice to see Ember Moon back in the ring. I don't know too much about her injury, but she had like a knee injury, right? So it's nice to see someone overcome an injury and wrestle a match who, you know, was injured. And so she's not injured anymore, and she's wrestling, and she's trying her best. And it was a good match. I mean, you know, once again, it's not something I'm going to sing a song about. Do I see Raquel Gonzalez headlining to WrestleMania? No. I mean, I think she's okay. I think she's a good athlete. Is it a match that really I give a fuck about? No. But it's okay. So she retains the title. Going back to the previous women's match, I guess I glossed over this whole Xia Li thing, going back a few matches. So Xia Li gets this pinfall, and then you have a couple of chair shots from Mercedes Menendez to the guy in the corner. And it kind of seems like, okay, they're pushing Mercedes Martinez here, even though she just lost clean, but she's getting the 50-50 booking brother or sister. And then they have this other woman come out, and I think it was Kevin Castle on Twitter said that she looked like Kabuki. I don't know, it was kind of cool looking, I won't lie to you. Like, it was cool looking, but at the same time, where's it going? And who's really getting pushed here? And what's the intrigue? And just all this shit where it's like, oh, the entrance. Like, just, this is why old-time wrestling fans get pissy and crotchety, because when there's so much emphasis put on entrances and costumes and production values, you know that you've kind of gotten away from the actual wrestling. And, the storytelling, whatever you want to call it, but it's just different. So it's like, okay, a lot of sizzle, where's the steak? You tell me. Going back, the Raquel Gonzalez, I don't know, was there anything else to say except she won the match, Raquel Gonzalez? And so I guess we've got a thing here where we've had no title changes so far, and I don't know if that's you know, back in the day of my marksmanship, you would kind of judge a pay-per-view with, oh, a title change. Like, you get all excited. So the promoters, you just usually take the easy way and just give you a bunch of title changes to shut you the fuck up. But here, there's really no title changes. And going into our final match of the night, this 5-way thing. And I mean, at some point, is this all just a way to flusterfuck Karrion Kross? Like, Is everyone's role in this match just to make him look more dominant? And I think the answer is yes. And I don't really know what that does for, I hate to say it, but a ring full of vanilla midgets. I mean, Adam Cole, Pete Dunne, Johnny Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly. These are all people that most of you, if you're watching this, probably like a lot. And I don't dislike these guys. But when I look at an Adam Cole, I'll be sorry, but I do respect that this guy knows what he's doing. I'm talking about Adam Cole, but it's like King Kong Bundy used to say, you know, I've taken craps bigger than Chris Jericho, and Jericho's probably a lot bigger than this Adam Cole guy. And it's like, yes, he knows what he's doing in the ring, and he has great matches and all that stuff, but when you see an Adam Cole, you see the guy who's playing in, like, you know, the Led Zeppelin tribute band down the street that breaks up all the time. You know, like you see the guy at the local bar who's smoking a cigarette outside and bitching that he has to go outside to smoke. And I guess the most thing I respect about Adam Cole is that he's somehow got this young Britt Baker as his girlfriend. So as a wrestler, do I respect Adam Cole's abilities to have great matches? Sure. But star quality, I can see why someone like Vince McMahon Jr., with his mentality of the Magnificent Moroccos and the Jimmy Snukas and the Junkyard Dogs of a bygone era, why would Vince McMahon want to promote a guy like Johnny Gargano? And the answer is he wouldn't. Because if he did, he would have done that by now. He would have promoted him to the main roster or whatever the fuck. So anyway, you see this pasty, kind of weak-looking, you know, guy, Adam Cole, and I don't get it. And the whole Bebe thing is stupid. Sorry. The other people, Pete Dunne looks like he lost some weight, and so Pete Dunne looks like he lost a little belly fat. Good for him. He actually looked pretty good, and you might be saying, well, Pete Dunne's no bigger than whatever the fuck than this other guy, and that's probably true. But I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't quite get the appeal of some of these guys in this match. Kyle O'Reilly, I guess the whole big thing with him is that he's left the group of assholes, you know, like the whatever the fucks they were called, the four guys that, oh my God, they were so awesome, you know, for 2 or 3 years, but who cares? They were all 210 pounds, if that. So, I mean, you had 4 guys that weighed the amount of Haystack Calhoun. So I never got into that, the Undisputed Era. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what's the dispute? What would the dispute be? Are you guys worth buying a ticket to see? Is it disputed that you weigh more than 230 pounds, any one of you? I don't get what the dispute was, and I don't get what the era was. What was the era? What was the dispute? And what was undisputed? It means nothing to me. So then these fucks, you got Johnny Gargano. Oh boy, it just feels like these are, like, we're starting to see some ghosts. In other words, you know, ghosts of wrestlers that were big 3 or 4 years ago. Gargano and Tommaso probably left their best stuff in the ring 2, 3, 4 years ago for your enjoyment. I mean, we saw some type of Thatcher fucking Tommaso Ciampa promo thing about being a tag team. Okay. Then we see Gargano in this 5-person match, and I was really trying to figure out, and I couldn't, is Johnny Gargano a babyface or a heel at this point? You tell me. I couldn't tell. It seemed like he was a heel that wasn't having an issue with anybody, so he was kind of just there in this match, taking up space and doing occasional moves. Am I wrong? The O'Reilly guy, for whatever reason, people like to park next to me, don't they? The O'Reilly guy, for whatever reason, just seemed like, it's a little snug. O'Reilly, Karrion Kross said, well, my biggest opponent in this match is Kylie O'Reilly. Okay, well, that didn't really develop into anything. I was actually predicting that Pete Dunne would somehow win the title, maybe with a pinfall over Adam Cole, because the reason would be that would give Karrion Kross an excuse. He never got pinned for the title, and he would be mad at Adam Cole for losing. So that didn't happen. Instead, they just had that interesting submission. I did think it was a cool submission, and I thought it was a good way to end the match, but Karrion Kross getting that victory. But it didn't mean much to me in my life. It might have meant something to you. So there you have it. I mean, the show was interesting. It was good. But do I feel like... Hi, buddy. Do I feel like it was somehow a great show in my life? No, I don't. I feel like it was just something that happened, that occurred, and now we move beyond it. Hey, buddy, how you doing? So, that's all right. So everyone's after me now. So I just don't know what to say. If you enjoyed it, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good effort from these young wrestlers, these young rookies. Do I wish them well? Sure. But, you know, it's more like, what did you think? I mean, if you're the NXT fan, you've kind of gotten a crawl inside the brain of a knowledgeable wrestling fan who, how you doing, who tried to give this show a shot, and I did. I watched it. Was it dog shit? No. I think the overall thing with NXT is, I just feel bad that these wrestlers are headed to Vince's meat grinder. You know, like none of these wrestlers are immune to being processed and homogenized by the Vince McMahon treatment. So why get emotionally invested with any of these guys when you know that they're all going to be castrated and eunuch-sized, made into eunuchs, and treated like garbage once they get to the main roster? You know what I mean? So why get emotionally invested if you know that their fate is going to be bad? That's for you to tell me. I don't know the answer. I don't get emotionally invested into NXT. And for years, I mean, you can listen to me and JG. We had a whole podcast about this topic. Like why, you know, the NXT debate. We had it years ago. So my point is, I don't get my fucking wrestling metaphorical dick hard about NXT because I know that these guys are going to be sacrificed like lambs, and they're not going to have good lives and good careers. They're going to be Vince. And the whole thing with NXT is they're trying to tell you, it's like this is the WWE does independent wrestling. And to me, sorry, you can't be independent wrestling and be WWE. You're one or the other. I've also noticed on this show that the turnbuckles all had the WWE logo on it, and the belts shown on this show all seem to have a lot of WWEs on them, a lot of W's, the logo. So this brand identity seemed to be being sacrificed. You know, like it's like Vince is like, well, this NXT thing is taking off, put some W's on it. Make sure they know it's ours. I don't know what to tell you. If you're a hardcore NXT enthusiast, I think part of that mindset is, oh, we're fucking Vince, and this is not the main roster, and this is not Raw or SmackDown. We're NXT. But assholes, it's your same dollar in Vince's different pocket. You're not being a rebel by supporting NXT. You're just being an idiot because you're just supporting the machine. That is, if you care to fuck Vince a little bit. Because I think a lot of fans of NXT who especially say, well, I don't watch the main roster, I just watch NXT. You're convincing yourself that somehow there's a difference there. But the same NXT money supports Trump and Saudi Arabia and all that good stuff, or that shitty stuff, just to be fucking clear, and you idiots just put another level of bullshit on top of your minds. So I don't know what to say. I try to, like I said, put a branch of intelligence into the pool of idiots and raise some of you to higher levels, but some of you don't care to do that. I can't help you any more than I have, okay? So, anyway, that's my goddamn NXT analysis. I'll give the show a B-. I didn't think it sucked. I thought it was good. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a big NXT fan now. So I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. For all the Mike Messier thoughts, analysis. A lot of people like to chime in and offer their opinion on my videos. That's fine. But at least I'm doing them. Mike Messier. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel.